and to educate all the people that we live with, that we go to school with, we worship with.
So can the GOP get their groove back, and how? Joining me now, Phil Musser, Republican strategist and former executive director for the Republican Governors Association and the president of Net Power Strategy. Phil, good to see you. We keep using this phrase, get their groove back. Right. I mean, they went to a pizza parlor. They're trying to look like they can connect with average people. Is that how bad it's gotten for the party?
Well, I mean, I think you have to keep this in context because we have to. I think my message to a lot of people would be that we need to chill out about all this, kind of woe is us, we're hitting the bottom, we're never going to come back. Obama has got the megaphone. He controls it in a way that only the president can, and he's used it very, very effectively. And so people who write the epitaph of the Republican Party do so ignoring historical trends in 64 to 66, 1992 to 1994, other periods of time. And so this is a good example of trying to get the debate to move about ideas and ways that we can positively talk about the future.
Ideas are important, but also people need a face to connect with. And at this very event this weekend, they were asked about the fact that there were only two Republicans, Sarah Palin and Rush Limbaugh, who made Time Magazine's 100 Most Powerful People. And here's what Mitt Romney said about that. Listen.
Was that the issue on the most beautiful people or the most influential people? I'm not sure. If it's the most beautiful, I understand. We're not real cute.
What's with the dissing of Sarah Palin? I mean, is there a real concern that the party is identified with people like Sarah Palin and Rush Limbaugh? I
think that Mitt was trying to make a tongue-in-cheek reference there, so I wouldn't read too many kind of deep motives into that.
No, he essentially said, is it most influential, most beautiful, essentially saying all she is beautiful.
I understand. But my point is, I think he was being pithy as opposed to making a serious point. But
you don't think he was dismissing Sarah Palin?
The question that you raise about personality versus issue, I think, is a fair one, because there's no question there's been an extraordinary amount of discussion about Sarah Palin, Rush Limbaugh, other leaders in the Republican Party, and frankly they are leaders of the party, but there are a lot of others, and there are a lot of others that are happening that are out there in the states. And so I think a lot of the drive of this organization is looking outside Washington, where we have good governors' opportunities in 2009 in Virginia and New Jersey to win, and Republicans to get back and get their mojo or get their groove back, right? They need to win. We need to prove that we can win. And so 2009, there are two big opportunities to do that, and then the map in 2010 is much, much better for governors outside of D.C.
Let me play to you what Senator John Ensign, of course, who is key in the party winning and some of these Senate races, had to say about what the party needs to do. Listen.
We don't have to come up with all the answers today, thank heavens. We have a little time. Certainly by 2010 we better. And we can listen to people across the country with a, if you will, from a grassroots up approach.
That, of course, is Mitt Romney, but his idea, of course, that grassroots up approach, that's what this listening tour is about.
Let me give a couple specific examples, because everyone is complaining and no one is offering specific examples, right? Exactly to what Mitt said, there are a couple things that we ought to do. One is we ought to remember the legacy of Jack Kemp, right? He passed away over the weekend, sadly, but the lessons that he advocated throughout his life, reaching out to Hispanics, talking to the African-American community, are things that we need to continue to do, and we ought to make a statement. We ought to do something about it now. We ought to really take our communications message, go right into the Hispanic community. The Obama White House is talking to outside the belt constituencies much better than we are right now.
You brought up Jack Kemp, and I want to play what he said more than 10 years ago about what the party needs to do. Just listen to him.
Right.
I want to see the Republican Party lead that debate, because we are the party of Lincoln, and we must be an inclusionary party that says that by the year 2000, as I tried to say in Harlem one day during the campaign, I'd like to see an America where half of all black Americans are voting Democrat, but the other half are voting Republican.
That was his wish for 2000. In 2008, 90% of John McCain's voters were white.
Right.
98% of African Americans voted for Barack Obama.
Right.
I mean, that's not what's happened to the party. In fact, there are less blacks voting for Republicans than in 2004.
Let's take the African American constituency off the table for 08 because of the unique dynamics of the fact that, as Jack Kemp said, we historically elected an African American, but Hispanics remain a huge strategic challenge for the Republican Party, and we have to be doing things to recruit more of them, to talking to more of them, and using technology in particular to reach out to the Hispanic community across the country. And if we don't, we're in deep trouble. But I think that the Republicans are starting to find their groove.
All right, Phil Musser, thanks so much.
Thanks,
we appreciate it. And it's been a busy hour. I'm Nora O'Donnell in Washington. Thanks so much for watching. And coming up next on MSNBC, former Attorney Generals John Ashcroft and